The Hegemony War Council chamber pulsed with biolight as 36 representatives from the Empire's dominant species gathered around the massive data projection. Admiral Vexnar, his chidnous exoskeleton gleaming with military implants, manipulated the display with precise gestures of his upper appendages. "Observe," he commanded, his translator converting complex pheromonal signals into standard hegemony speech. Sol 3. Designated Earth by its indigenous population. The holographic planet rotated slowly, revealing scars of environmental upheaval and recovery. Data scrolled alongside it. Atmospheric composition, population centers, electromagnetic emissions. Their civilization should not exist, continued Vexnar, switching the display to historical data. 3 extinction-level events in their brief evolutionary timeline. The most recent climate destabilization alone had a 97.3% probability of causing societal collapse. Supreme Arbitrator Xorlax, the eldest of the ruling Scatheri species, leaned forward on his gravity throne. Unlike the specialized warrior, scientist, and administrator castes surrounding him, Xorlax had been gene-crafted for pure decision-making. His elongated cranium housed a brain optimized for strategic calculation, fed by 6 eyes positioned to never blink simultaneously. Yet they persist. Xorlax observed, his voice carrying the harmonic resonance that marked hegemony authority. Explain. The xenobiologist, a serpentine Salath with metallic scales reflecting the chamber's light, answered, "They adapt, Supreme Arbitrator. Not merely through technological means, but behaviorally. They'd modify their societies, their values, their entire systems of organization in response to crisis. It defies predictive modeling." Murmurs rippled through the chamber, concern from the administrative caste, fascination from the scientists, contempt from the warriors. Xorlax silenced them with a subtle gesture. Assessment. Admiral Vexnar's response was immediate. Threat potential. Extreme. Recommend immediate quarantine and controlled integration. Integration. Questioned the economic minister, her translucent body glowing with indignation. Their resource consumption patterns are irrational. They will destabilize established colonial markets. I disagree, countered the chief geneticist. Their biological adaptability suggests valuable traits for our enhancement programs. Xorlax absorbed their arguments dispassionately, all 6 eyes fixed on the image of Earth. After precisely calculated moments, he rendered judgment. This species represents an evolutionary anomaly. Their unpredictability makes them inherently dangerous to hegemony stability. His decision rippled through the neural network connecting all present. Deploy the 7th Fleet. Standard subjugation protocols. Commander Ilara Chen woke to the insistent buzz of her neural implant, a relic of the climate wars that still linked her to United Defense Force systems. The clock displayed 3:47. Emergency protocols only activated her implant at this hour. Status, she murmured, instantly alert despite the darkness of her quarters. Anomalous readings detected beyond Mars orbit, reported the AI. 7 objects decelerating from superluminal velocities. Chen sat upright, sleep forgotten. Natural phenomena. Negative. Controlled deceleration patterns. Estimated mass. Significant. Her heart raced, but years of crisis management kept her voice steady. Alert status. Awaiting your authorization, Commander. Chen hesitated. Earth's unified government was barely 5 years old. Political tensions still raw after decades of resource wars. A false alarm about extraterrestrial contact could shatter the fragile peace. An actual first contact scenario handled poorly could be even worse. She slid out of bed, the scar tissue around her implant itching, as it always did when adrenaline flooded her system. Maintain current monitoring. Notify General Takeda and Dr. Williams. Encrypted channels only. In her private bathroom, Chen splashed cold water on her face, staring at her reflection. The short-cropped gray hair, the lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before the Jakarta flooding. 47 years old, and she might be the one to oversee humanity's first extraterrestrial encounter. Her secure terminal chimed. Dr. Maya Williams had already responded, despite the hour. "Tell me I'm not being pranked," read the message, alongside complex linguistic algorithms already analyzing the signal patterns from the approaching objects. Chen managed a grim smile as she answered, "If so, we're being pranked together." Williams' reply came seconds later. "I've been waiting for this call my entire life. Meet me in your office in 30. I have something you need to see." As Chen dressed in her uniform, the distant objects continued their controlled approach toward Earth, their purpose still unknown. Humanity was about to change forever, whether it was ready or not. 7 days after first detection, the sky darkened worldwide. The hegemony vessels didn't bother with stealth as they positioned themselves over Earth's major population centers, massive obsidian structures that defied conventional physics, each 20 kilometers in diameter. Their arrival triggered immediate chaos. Power grids fluctuated, satellite communications failed, and military defense systems went inexplicably offline. In Times Square, Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, Cairo, Sydney, London, and Delhi, millions watched in stunned silence as the ships blocked out the sun. Then, simultaneously across the planet, every digital screen flickered to the same image, a face. Almost humanoid, yet wrong in subtle, disturbing ways. 6 eyes arranged in perfect symmetry around an elongated cranium, skin that seemed both metallic and organic. No discernible mouth, yet when it spoke, the words synchronized perfectly in each region's dominant language. "People of Earth," the entity began, its voice unnaturally melodic. "I am Supreme Arbitrator Xorlax of the Hegemony, governing authority of 73 star systems and 112 sentient species. Your civilization has been evaluated and found wanting." In the emergency United Nations bunker beneath Geneva, Commander Chen watched the broadcast alongside 24 world leaders and their senior staff. The room, designed to withstand nuclear strikes, felt suffocatingly small. "After thorough assessment, we have determined that your species lacks the biological and societal stability for independent development," continued Xorlax. "Your resource management is inefficient. Your governance systems are primitive. Your technological advancement trajectory is dangerously unregulated." The Brazilian president, Almeida, gripped the edge of the ancient oak table. "They're going to exterminate us," he whispered. "The hegemony therefore extends an offer of beneficial stewardship." Xorlax continued. "Submit to integration into our collective, and your species will be assigned appropriate functions within our established order. Resist, and face immediate biological reassignment." The transmission ended, replaced by a countdown clock. 24:00. Chaos erupted in the bunker. The Chinese premier demanded immediate military response. The EU representatives argued for diplomatic engagement. The African Union Secretary General called for global unity, while the American president questioned the aliens' technological capabilities. Dr. Maya Williams, who had been silently recording and analyzing the transmission from the corner of the room, suddenly grabbed Chen's arm. "Look," she whispered urgently, replaying the message on her tablet with enhanced visual analysis. "Watch his tertiary eye movements. There, and there again." Chen studied the footage. The upper right eye of the alien flickered in a consistent pattern that didn't match the cadence of the speech. "Micro-expressions," Williams explained. "He's lying about something fundamental. I've been analyzing their communication patterns since first detection. There are structural contradictions in their language, inconsistencies that suggest internal discord. When President Almeida suggested immediate surrender to preserve human lives, Chen could no longer remain silent. She slammed her fist down, cracking the table's polished surface. "Give me 72 hours, she demanded, silencing the room. "In the meantime, tell them we're considering their generous offer. But I need authorization for a covered operation." The UN Secretary General studied Chen's face. "What kind of operation?" The kind no one in this room can officially know about. 4 hours later, Chen's hypersonic transport touched down at an unmarked landing pad in the Canadian wilderness. The cabin was barely pressurized before she stepped out into the biting cold, following a narrow path to a solitary cabin nestled among towering pines. Former Special Forces Captain Marcus Reed was waiting on the porch, a hunting rifle across his lap. 3 years since his dishonorable discharge for questioning orders during the water wars, his beard had grown wild, but his eyes remained sharp as ever. "I figured someone would come eventually," he said without greeting. "Didn't expect it to be you, Commander." Chen stepped onto the porch, frost crunching beneath her boots. "I need someone who doesn't officially exist," she said, "to commit an act of war against an alien empire." Reed's expression didn't change, but he set the rifle aside. "When do we start?" Unpredicted behavioral patterns detected in Sector 17, reported the hegemony's chief biologics officer. Supreme Arbitrator Thorlax studied the security footage on the command bridge of his flagship. The images showed London Underground workers dismantling a newly installed hegemony monitoring node, repurposing its components into crude but effective communication devices that somehow evaded detection. "Time since installation?" Thorlax inquired. 3 hours, Supreme Arbitrator. 3 of Thorlax's 6 eyes closed briefly, the closest his species came to expressing surprise. Previous minimum adaptation time was 17 cycles. Even the MERN took 3 full rotations to comprehend our base technology. "Humans appear to possess unusual flexibility of thought," the officer responded, visibly uncomfortable. "They improvise rather than follow established patterns." Similar reports streamed in from all 7 occupation zones. In Mumbai, school children were modifying hegemony translation devices into jammers. In Chicago, former gang members coordinated with police to establish hidden supply networks. In Berlin, university professors worked alongside sanitation workers to decode alien communications. None of it made sense according to established hegemony models. Dr. Maya Williams adjusted her collaborator uniform, the gray shapeless garment issued to humans who accepted oversight positions within the hegemony's Earth administration. The irony of her current mission wasn't lost on her. She'd spent her career developing algorithms to communicate with extraterrestrial intelligence, only to now use those skills to infiltrate and deceive them. The Australian Command Centre had once been Sydney Opera House, its iconic shells now dwarfed by the alien structure looming above. Williams passed through 3 security checkpoints, her forged credentials transmitting the expected signals. The plan relied on the hegemony's apparent weaknesses, their overconfidence, and their rigid protocols. In the central data hub, Williams was finally alone. She inserted the quantum processor Chen had provided, disguised as a standard hegemony authorization key, into the terminal. Initiating diagnostic sequence, she murmured in hegemony standard speech as her fingers danced across the alien interface, executing the infiltration program while the system remained blind to her true actions. What she discovered sent ice through her veins. Species profiles. Hundreds of them. Each categorized, modified, and assigned specific functions within the Empire. Genetic engineering on a scale beyond comprehension. The Taurians, engineered for strategic analysis. The Ophidians, biological computing. The Dracari, physical combat. None possessed the full spectrum of capabilities. Each species had been deliberately stunted, enhanced in one area while sacrificed in others, a biological case system perfected over millennia. And humanity's proposed designation: restricted adaptive potential, recommended segmentation, 67% labor caste, 22% military applications, 8% limited problem solving, 3% reproductive maintenance. Williams couldn't suppress her shudder as she encrypted her findings into a transmission to Chen. "They're terrified of us," she wrote. "We're the only species they've encountered with generalized adaptive intelligence they can't predict. Their entire empire is built on specialization. They literally can't comprehend how we function." In the end, Marcus Reed led a team of 12 former Special Forces operators from 6 nations on a mission that had been deemed impossible, infiltrating a hegemony communications hub built into the side of a mountain. 3 minutes to security sweep, whispered his second-in-command, a former Israeli commando named Levin. We should fall back and try again tomorrow. Reed checked the thermal imaging one last time. No, their patterns are too predictable. They're relying on technology, not instinct. He gestured to the barely visible seam in the mountainside. That entrance will open in exactly 42 seconds. They've opened it at this exact time for 3 days running. How do you know they won't change the pattern today? Reed's expression hardened. Because they don't think they need to. They don't adapt unless forced to. Right on schedule, the mountain face slid open. The team moved with practiced precision, neutralizing the 2 guard-cased aliens with targeted EMP charges that disrupted their neural implants without killing them. Inside, Reed located the primary data node, a crystalline structure pulsing with light patterns. He attached the extraction device Williams had designed, downloading terabytes of hegemony tactical data in seconds. But as they prepared to exit, alarms blared. A security team had discovered the unconscious guards. Go! Reed shouted to his team as enemy fire superheated the air around them. Get the data back to command. 3 team members fell in the retreat. Reed and Levin provided covering fire, their modified weapons barely effective against hegemony armor. As Levin took a hit to the shoulder that nearly vaporized his arm, Reed dragged him into a narrow crevice. Leave me, Levin gasped. That's not how humans operate, Reed growled, applying emergency nanofoam to the wound. We adapt, remember. 3 kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, Dr. Sanjay Patel hadn't slept in 72 hours. The facility, hastily excavated after first contact, using experimental thermal drills, was humanity's last untouched technological hub. Above them, artificially generated storms concealed their heat signature from hegemony sensors. Their encryption should be unbreakable, Patel muttered, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces where incomprehensible alien code streamed past. By all rights, it should be. Around him, a team of 30 programmers, mathematicians, and neurodivergent pattern recognition specialists worked in focused silence. They'd been hand-selected from across the globe, brilliant minds who approached problems from unconventional angles. Perhaps we're thinking about this wrong, said Ling, a non-verbal mathematician whose solutions came through musical compositions. She tapped a sequence on her keyboard, and alien code transformed into audio patterns played through the lab's speakers. Listen to the harmonics. Patel closed his eyes, allowing his exhausted mind to process the sound rather than the symbols. It's not just encryption, he said suddenly. It's biological. These patterns mimic neural pathways. His eyes snapped open. They're not just encoding data. They're encoding thought patterns specific to their species. It was the breakthrough they needed. Within hours, they had reconfigured their approach, combining quantum computing with analog pattern recognition. Technology the hegemony had apparently never considered combining. When they finally broke through, the information flood nearly crashed their systems. They're lying to their own people, Patel whispered as the data revealed itself. The Hegemony Council maintains power by restricting information between species. Each is told they're privileged while others are inferior. Commander Chen, observing via secure link from her mobile command center, made her decision. Initiate Operation Trojan Horse. All teams go. Across 6 continents, coordinated strikes launched against hegemony outposts. Not military targets, they were too well defended, but research and supply facilities where crucial technology components could be captured. Marcus Reed, still recovering from the Andes mission, led the most critical team into Singapore's occupied spaceport. Their objective, an intact scout ship. 90 seconds until patrol, announced his tactical officer as they approached the maintenance bay. 3 hegemony engineers, members of a methane-breathing species with enhanced visual processing, worked on an open scout ship panel. Reed activated the aerosol dispersal unit. Harmless to humans, the compound reacted with methane to create temporary visual distortion. The engineers collapsed in disoriented heaps as Reed's team moved in. Disable tracking and security protocols, Reed ordered. Exactly as we practiced. They worked with practiced efficiency, applying Dr. Williams' translation algorithms to navigate alien interfaces. As the last system was neutralized, perimeter alarms blared. "We've been compromised," shouted Levin, his remaining arm manning a makeshift weapon. Heavy units approaching. Reed slid into the pilot interface, where Williams' neural translation patch allowed his brain to interface with alien controls. Everyone aboard now. Only half his team made it before hegemony forces breached the bay. Levin provided covering fire, allowing the last team member to scramble inside before a plasma bolt caught him squarely in the chest. "Close the hatch," Reed ordered, his voice cold as he watched his friend vaporize. The scout ship's systems fought him, its AI attempting to self-destruct rather than be captured. Reed mentally bypassed safety protocols, forcing the craft airborne on manual controls, something the specialized hegemony pilots were never trained to do. As they escaped the spaceport's gravity well, a hegemony cruiser positioned above the city powered its main cannon. Reed watched helplessly as a concentrated energy beam struck Singapore, vaporizing the central district and 20 million lives in seconds. A clear message: theft from the hegemony would not be tolerated. The scout ship limped into Antarctic airspace 6 hours later, its systems barely functional after Reed's brutal override. Chen met him on the landing pad, her expression grave. "They hit Delhi too," she said without preamble. "And Cairo. 50 million dead." Reed emerged from the craft carrying the body of his tactical officer, who had succumbed to injuries during the flight. "Tell Paddle to work faster," he said, his eyes hollow. "And get Williams back from Australia. I need her to help me understand how this thing flies." Inside the facility, Paddle's team had already begun reverse engineering hegemony technology, combining specialists from dozens of fields in ways the compartmentalized alien scientists never would. Within weeks, they achieved what should have taken decades. The Resistance now had a fighting chance. Earth situation deteriorating beyond acceptable parameters. Request immediate reinforcement. Commander Chen watched the intercepted hegemony transmission with growing dread. Dr. Patel's decryption algorithms had broken their communications network, giving humanity unprecedented insight into the enemy's operations. "They're not just calling for backup," Chen told the remnants of Earth's leadership, assembled via secure holographic link. Most attended from underground bunkers, some projected from hidden resistance strongholds. They're requesting a battle group from Proxima Centauri. The implications were clear. Earth wasn't facing 7 ships. It was facing an empire spanning dozens of star systems. "How long do we have?" asked the Australian Prime Minister, her face gaunt from weeks in hiding. "Their FTL technology appears to be roughly 20 times faster than our theoretical models predicted," Paddle explained. "Conservatively, 3 weeks before reinforcements arrive." Chen brought up the data they gleaned from the captured scout ship. "We've also confirmed Earth isn't their first conquest. There are at least 37 subjugated species serving as client races." Silence fell over the meeting. Billions dead, major cities reduced to radioactive craters, and now the revelation that the enemy was vastly larger than they'd imagined. "We need more intelligence," Chen continued, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "And we need allies." The modified scout ship slipped away from Earth under cover of a carefully timed solar flare. Its hull now incorporated human-designed adaptive camouflage, rendering it nearly invisible to hegemony sensors. Inside, Dr. Maya Williams and Marcus Reed prepared for humanity's first venture beyond the solar system. Transitioning to FTL in 3 minutes, Reed announced from the pilot's interface, where his neural implant synchronized with the ship's controls. The weeks spent mastering alien technology had changed him. His eyes now had a faint luminescence from prolonged exposure to the interface. Williams monitored the ship's energy signature. Cloaking systems nominal. If Paddle's modifications work, we'll be invisible to their monitoring network. Neither voiced the obvious. If the modifications failed, they'd be dead before they realized it. The jump to FTL was like nothing human science had prepared them for. Colors beyond normal perception flooded their consciousness as space-time compressed around the vessel. When they emerged, Proxima Centauri blazed before them. Humanity's first view of another star from up close. "My God," Williams whispered, momentarily awestruck despite their dire mission. Reed's expression remained grim as he plotted approach vectors to the fourth planet. A massive mining operation according to stolen hegemony data. "Stay focused. We have 12 hours before our absence will be noted on Earth." Proxima B resembled hell more than a planet. Its surface was scarred by massive excavations visible from orbit. Artificial atmospherics domed vast labor camps where enslaved species toiled under hegemony overseers. Using stolen access codes, Reed landed their vessel in a maintenance sector. They emerged wearing scavenged hegemony administrator uniforms, their features concealed by environmental masks that were standard for oxygen-breathing species in the methane-enriched atmosphere. The facility's interior revealed the true scale of hegemony atrocity. Thousands of aliens, some vaguely humanoid, others utterly foreign in morphology, labored in conditions that made Earth's occupation seem merciful. Many showed signs of genetic modification, enhanced musculature for heavy lifting, redundant lung systems for toxic environments, photoreceptive skin for darkness. "They're not just conquering species," Williams whispered. "They're reshaping them." As they collected data via concealed scanners, a skeletal being with translucent skin approached them in a maintenance corridor. It, moved with deliberate care, as though well-practiced in avoiding attention. "You move incorrectly," the alien whispered in accented hegemony standard. "You are not of the overseer castes." Reed reached for his concealed weapon, but Williams stopped him. "We're not with the hegemony," she admitted, a calculated risk. The alien's multifaceted eyes widened. "The rebel species, the ones from the prohibited broadcasts." He glanced nervously at nearby monitoring devices. "Follow." Quickly, he led them through service tunnels to a hidden compartment beneath waste processing units. Inside, a dozen aliens of various species huddled around a makeshift receiver. "I am Krill," their guide explained. "My people were the first conquered by the hegemony, many cycles ago. We serve as record keepers now." He gestured to the others. "We have been following your resistance. You are the first to ever fight back effectively." Williams activated her translator as Krill retrieved ancient data crystals from a hidden compartment. "The hegemony fears you because your species represents everything they sacrificed," Krill explained. "They made themselves powerful but brittle, each species genetically specialized for specific functions, none permitted to develop full cognitive or adaptive potential." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. "They've detected your ship," Krill warned, urgency in his alien features. "But we'll buy you time." He turned to his companions, communicating in a language the translator couldn't process. For the first time in 3 centuries, the mining colony erupted in open rebellion. Earth burned. The hegemony reinforcements had arrived. 50 warships now orbited the planet, methodically targeting resistant strongholds with precision strikes that transformed once thriving cities into sterilized wastelands. In a hardened bunker beneath the irradiated ruins of Chicago, Commander Chen studied holographic projections of their deteriorating situation. 2/3 of the planet's surface now showed signs of hegemony weapons fire. Refugee populations huddled in underground shelters or remote wilderness areas, barely surviving on dwindling supplies. "Fleet movements suggest they're preparing for final pacification protocols," reported her tactical officer, a hollow-eyed woman who hadn't slept in 3 days. Chen was about to respond when the communications array activated unexpectedly. A familiar voice crackled through static. "Home base, this is Pathfinder. Authentication code Sierra Tango 79 Delta. The room fell silent. Reed and Williams had been presumed lost after 3 weeks without contact. Pathfinder, this is home base, Chen responded, her voice carefully controlled. Authentication confirmed. Status: inbound with critical intelligence and passengers. Request immediate landing clearance at Haven Facility. Evading pursuit. 20 minutes later, Chen watched as the modified scout ship emerged from cloud cover above the Antarctic base, its hull showing signs of weapons fire. As it settled onto the landing pad, she noted unusual modifications to its structure, components of clearly non-hegemony design. The hatch opened to reveal Reed and Williams, haggard but alive. Behind them emerged 7 beings of different species, each moving with obvious discomfort in Earth's gravity and atmosphere. Representatives from 7 subjugated worlds, Williams explained during the rush to briefing. They risked everything to come with us. The colony uprising gave us the opportunity to escape, but we had to take a circuitous route to avoid detection. Reed looked even more transformed than when he'd left. The neural interface had left visible traces along his temples, and something in his eyes had changed fundamentally. The hegemony empire is built on lies, he stated flatly. Each species is told they're privileged while others are inferior. None know they've all been genetically engineered for specialization and compliance. Before Chen could process this information, Dr. Patel burst into the command center, his normally composed demeanor shattered by excitement. "I've done it," he announced, connecting a crystalline device to their communications array. Total access to their network, not just decryption, full transmission capability across their entire system. Chen looked from Williams and Reed to their alien allies, then to Patel's breakthrough technology. Pieces clicked into place in her tactical mind. "How wide a broadcast range?" she asked Patel. "System-wide guaranteed. With their relay network, potentially empire-wide." Chen's decision crystallized. Prepare a transmission. All channels, all frequencies, translated into every hegemony language. Supreme Arbitrator Thorlax observed Earth's systematic destruction from the command deck of his flagship. The human resistance had proven more troublesome than anticipated, but the outcome was never in doubt. Once pacified, the species would be genetically modified to remove problematic traits while preserving their adaptability under controlled conditions. Final resistance stronghold identified in southern polar region, reported his tactical officer. Targeting solutions prepared. Before Xorlax could give the order, every screen on the command deck flickered. The communications officer frantically worked his controls. Unauthorized transmission. It's overriding all channels. A human female appeared on screen. Commander Chen, according to intelligence files. Her expression showed none of the fear appropriate for a defeated species. To all citizens of the hegemony empire, she began, her words simultaneously translated into every language used across their dominion. "I am Commander Ilara Chen of Earth. Your leaders have lied to you." Sorlax barked orders to terminate the transmission, but his communications officers worked in vain. For millennia, the Hegemony Council has maintained control through artificial genetic specialization and deliberate misinformation. Chen continued. Each species has been told they are superior while others are inferior. The truth is that you have all been deliberately limited, your potential curtailed, your development restricted. The transmission shifted to show evidence extracted from the hegemony's own secure archives, genetic modification records, species manipulation protocols, classified council directives regarding information restriction. You've been kept separate, prevented from sharing knowledge or forming true alliances. Chen's voice continued over the damning evidence. Why? Because your leaders fear what different species might accomplish together. The broadcast switched to footage from Proxima B. Enslaved species rising up against their overseers, inspired by Earth's example. Today, we deliver humanity's message to the hegemony. You've determined your own demise. Your system of control, your lies, your genetic tampering, they created the perfect conditions for revolution. Chen's face returned to the screen, flanked now by representatives of the 7 alien species who had accompanied Reed and Williams. "Freedom doesn't require permission," she stated with quiet intensity. "It requires only the courage to claim it." Throughout the Hegemony Empire, long-dormant resistance movements activated. On hundreds of worlds, species began to question the narratives they'd been fed for generations. On the command deck, Sorlax watched in undisguised fury as his communications officer reported ships across the fleet failing to respond to commands. "Terminate this transmission immediately," he ordered, rising from his control throne, "and prepare for planetary sterilization. Earth ends today." The weapons officer stood motionless at his station. "Did you not hear my order?" Sorlax demanded. "I heard," responded the officer, a member of a species engineered for unquestioning loyalty. "But I also heard the truth." He raised his weapon. "The time for following orders has ended." Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out as the carefully maintained structure of hegemony control began to crumble. The void above Earth ignited with plasma fire. The hegemony fleet had fractured, ship turning against ship as the revelation of millennia of lies shattered chain of command. Command-class vessels, primarily crewed by species still loyal to the Empire, concentrated their firepower on the planet below, determined to eliminate the source of the rebellion. Simultaneously, ships piloted by factory and warrior castes, who had embraced the truth, turned their weapons against former masters. In Antarctic Command, alarms blared as orbital bombardment targeted their location. "They've found us," Chen announced grimly. "Patel, status of the virus." Dr. Patel's fingers danced across interfaces, finalizing his masterstroke, a virus designed to exploit the hegemony's rigid command protocols. "Ready for deployment," he confirmed. "But it's imperfect. Their systems will adapt within approximately 30 minutes. Chen nodded. "That's our window then." She turned to Reed, who stood alongside Williams at the tactical display. "Prepare the strike team. You have 30 minutes to reach Sorlax's flagship and end this." Williams stepped forward. "I'm going to." Chen started to object, but the determination in Williams' eyes stopped her. Instead, she pulled the xenolinguist into a brief, fierce embrace. "Come back alive, both of you," she ordered, then stepped back to address the command center. "Deploy the virus. All resistance cells. Initiate Operation Lightbringer." The modified scout ship lifted off as the Antarctic base shuddered under direct hits from orbit. Inside, Reed piloted while Williams and a mixed-species strike team prepared for boarding action. The 7 alien representatives who had returned with them from Proxima B now served as guides, their specialized knowledge of hegemony systems proving invaluable. "Virus deployment confirmed," came Patel's voice over comms. Hegemony weapons systems powering down across the fleet. Overhead, the massive hegemony vessels drifted momentarily powerless. Smaller craft from resistance cells worldwide launched simultaneously, targeting vulnerable external systems on the capital ships. Reed piloted directly toward Sorlax's flagship, a behemoth 20 times the size of their scout vessel. 30 seconds until automated systems begin recovery, warned Krill, monitoring hegemony communications. "We must hurry." The scout ship's profile had been modified to broadcast hegemony command codes. "Override code accepted," announced the flagship's automated system as they approached the docking bay. No weapons fired upon them as they landed among the confusion of the disabled vessel. The moment they disembarked, reality reasserted itself. The virus had affected weapons and communications, but internal security remained operational. Hegemony soldiers, those still loyal to the regime, opened fire as Reed's team emerged. "Move," Reed shouted, returning fire with modified hegemony weapons, straight to the central lift as planned. The fighting was brutal in the confined spaces of the flagship. 2 of their alien allies fell in the first exchange, their specialized bodies not designed for combat flexibility. Reed took a plasma blast to the shoulder that melted through his armor, searing flesh beneath. 9 minutes remaining," announced Williams, helping Reed to his feet as their team cleared the corridor. The lift carried them toward the command deck, but stopped halfway. Emergency protocols had activated. Above them, they could hear the sounds of fighting. "The ship's crew is turning against itself," observed Krill. "Your message has sparked conflict even here." Reed grimaced through pain, setting the last of their explosives on the lift ceiling. "Stand back." The controlled blast opened access to the shaft above. "Get the commander to the bridge," he ordered Williams and their remaining allies. "I'm going to make sure Sorlax has nowhere to run." Williams grabbed his uninjured arm. "That's a suicide mission." "Probably," Reed acknowledged, his eyes reflecting determination born from watching Earth burn. "But someone needs to disable their power core before the virus fails, or they'll simply resume the bombardment." No further words were necessary. Williams understood the calculus of their situation. She helped Reed access a maintenance shaft that would lead him to engineering, then led the remaining team upward toward the command deck. On the flagship's bridge, Supreme Arbitrator Sorlax stood amid the bodies of officers who had turned against him. The central command throne, connected directly to his neural pathways, allowed him to manually override systems affected by the human virus. "Targeting systems coming back online," he announced to the few remaining loyal crew. "Prepare to resume planetary sterilization." The doors to the bridge exploded inward. Williams and 3 surviving team members stormed through the smoke, weapons firing. Sorlax activated his personal shield, standard equipment for hegemony leadership. "You can't undo thousands of years of genetic engineering with one speech," he sneered, manipulating controls to bring weapons systems fully online. Deep within the ship, Reed reached the power core. Emergency systems recognized him as an intruder, sealing evacuation routes. He placed his remaining explosives at critical junctions, setting timers. "For Earth," he whispered, closing his eyes as the first detonation began a cascade through the ship's power grid. On the bridge, Sorlax's shield flickered and failed as power fluctuations surged through the flagship. His 6 eyes widened in shock, a moment of vulnerability that lasted precisely 3 seconds, long enough for Williams to put a bullet through his central eye cluster. As rebel forces secured the flagship, Williams broadcast across all channels, holding Sorlax's ceremonial staff. "The hegemony has fallen. Earth stands free." The remaining loyalist vessels, seeing their leaders fall, attempted desperate last strikes against human population centers, but found themselves surrounded by their former subordinates now fighting for freedom. The battle for Earth had ended. The war for galactic liberation had just begun. 6 months after what became known as the Liberation War, Commander Ilara Chen stood at the podium in the reconstructed United Nations headquarters. The building's famous dome had been rebuilt with a transparent alloy of human and hegemony design, offering a clear view of both Earth's sky and the alien vessels peacefully orbiting above. Earth remained devastated. Major cities in ruins, billions dead, ecosystems struggling to recover from weaponry designed to render planets uninhabitable. Yet amid the destruction, something unprecedented flourished. The Grand Chamber hosted representatives from 23 formerly subjugated species, gathered for the signing of what humans had simply named the Accord. Chen surveyed the assembly. Beings of incredible diversity, many requiring specialized environmental support to survive in Earth's atmosphere. Each had suffered under hegemony rule. Each had answered humanity's call for freedom. Chen walked slowly to the central podium, leaning on a cane fashioned from hegemony alloy, a permanent reminder of her confrontation with Sorlax. Her injuries would never fully heal, advanced medical technology notwithstanding. The assembly fell silent as she reached the microphone. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her voice carrying to thousands of different auditory organs through Dr. Williams' revolutionary translation system. "We could build a new empire. We could seek revenge for millennia of oppression. We could become what we destroyed." She paused, looking across the assembled delegates. "Or we could do what truly terrified the hegemony. We could collaborate as equals." The proposal formalized in the accord was radical: an interstellar alliance preserving cultural and biological diversity while sharing knowledge freely. No species dominant, all voices heard. Freedom to develop without genetic tampering or forced specialization. In the weeks following the ceremony, as the Alliance Charter took shape, Dr. Maya Williams oversaw the implementation of her interspecies communication protocols. Her work with the alien representatives had revolutionized xenolinguistics, creating a system that preserved the unique nuances of each language while facilitating mutual understanding. Language reflects thought patterns, she explained to her multi-species research team. The hegemony maintained control partly by preventing true communication between subject races. We're doing the opposite, preserving diversity while enabling genuine exchange. Meanwhile, on a modified hegemony vessel rechristened Liberator, Marcus Reed, who had miraculously survived the flagship's partial destruction, led the first joint species military expedition to free distant mining colonies still under loyalist control. Fighting alongside beings I would have called enemies months ago, he recorded in his journal during the voyage. Strangest part is how natural it feels. These specialists complement our adaptability perfectly when they're allowed to choose their own paths. On Earth, Dr. Patel directed the massive task of environmental restoration. The hegemony's terraforming technology, originally designed to make planets suitable for specific resource extraction, was being repurposed to heal radiation damage and restore devastated ecosystems. We're modifying their environmental control systems to work with Earth's natural processes rather than override them, Patel explained to visiting alien scientists whose perspective had revolutionized his understanding of planetary systems. It's symbolic of our entire approach, using their tools for harmony rather than dominance. 1 year after first contact, humanity celebrated Unity Day, marking not just Earth's survival but its new place in a diverse cosmic community. As twilight fell over the partially rebuilt skyline of Tokyo, Williams stood with Krill on an observation platform, watching shuttles from various Alliance worlds land at the spaceport. "Do you think we can really make it work?" Krill asked, his mandibles clicking with the nervous gesture characteristic of his species. Different species, different evolutionary paths, working together without a central authority forcing compliance. Williams smiled, pointing to a group of human and alien children playing together in a recovery garden. The young ones were using a translational game she had designed to learn each other's languages. "That's why we won," she said simply. "Not because we're stronger or smarter, but because we understand something the hegemony forgot. Diversity isn't weakness. It's the only path to survival." Above them, the first joint species exploration vessel, named Proclamation in recognition of the broadcast that had changed the course of galactic history, prepared to leave Earth orbit. Its mission was unlike any in hegemony history: not conquest, not resource extraction, but discovery for its own sake. On its bridge, human and alien crew worked side by side, their differences becoming strengths rather than limitations. Its captain, a former hegemony navigation specialist who had joined the rebellion, gave the order to engage the drive system. "For a new beginning," the captain announced as the stars blurred around them.